Plus, Glenn Beck has a message for Andrew Cuomo after the governor suggested conservatives are not welcome in New York State. And we'll have Beck's fascinating answer to this question.
When you think back on your time here, how will you remember it? How do you remember Andrew Cuomo, who has yet to apologize for saying pro-life, pro-gun rights conservatives have, quote, no place in his state? One of the most powerful voices on the airwaves today writes a hard-hitting, open letter to New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo, reacting to Mr. Cuomo's recent remarks that conservatives have, quote, no place in New York State.
Their problem is not me and the Democrats. Their problem is themselves. Who are they? Are they these extreme conservatives who are right to life, pro-assault weapon, anti-gay? Is that who they are? Because if that's who they are, and if they are the extreme conservatives, they have no place in the state of New York. Because that's not who New Yorkers are.
Glenn Beck is the man who wrote that letter to Governor Cuomo. He's founder and chairman of The Blaze. Glenn, great to see you. This got you all fired up. Explain why.
Because I think what's happened here is Cuomo is reacting to Bill de Blasio. I mean, there's a hostile takeover from the radical left of the Democratic Party in New York, and I think he's trying to assert his position, and it's a position that's going to leave him in the dustbin of history. I mean, if we can't, now he says he's talking about politicians, but okay, if we can't have politicians who stand up for the Constitution, stand up because they have a point of view that you have a right to life as an unborn child. The hatred of gays is a totally separate thing, but those two in particular, those are essential for us to argue about and have debate about, especially in politics. And if we can't live in the same state and work in the same state, what do we have? We have to decide, can we live with people of different points of view? If we can't, we've seen that road in the 20th century over and over again, and it doesn't end well.
You know, you say he's talking about politicians, but the problem for Governor Cuomo, among others, in that statement is he then finishes it by saying those politicians, you know, giving him the benefit of the doubt, have no place in the state of New York, because that's not who New Yorkers are.
Right.
And, you know, we had so many viewers write in and say, who is he to say who New Yorkers are? I mean, you look at the state makeup, and yes, the state leans left, but we've had, prior to Governor Cuomo, a Republican governor in this state, and there have been many politicians in New York State who are pro-life and who are not anti-gun, as Governor Cuomo would have the world believe. You talk about the importance of respecting minority rights and the history of our country and the troubles it leads to when we don't do that.
I will tell you that Governor Cuomo sounds a little like the governor of Alabama when he was talking about the Freedom Bus and saying that Martin Luther King and those who want to march with Martin Luther King and be on the Freedom Bus should get out of the state. There's no place for those people here. I mean, where would the disenfranchised of the world in history be if we didn't have that pushback? Here's a group of people, and Governor Cuomo, I'm sure, would be all for tenure at schools. But yet we can't fire a teacher because we need to be able to protect that discourse. But in public life, in political life, we can't have a free exchange of ideas because you just don't belong here? First of all, Governor, let me tell you something. We were one of the first on the scene. My charity organization, which has given $14 million away in the last, I think, 18 months, we were one of the first from Texas back to New York. We have helped some of the hospitals in New York with hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we're good citizens. We're there. We put our money and our back where our heart is. Plus, we pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax. We employ over 200 people. I have 200 people that work in New York State and New York City. Are they not welcome? Is our money not welcome?
Are you going to leave? You suggest in the letter you might pull them.
I'm in, quite honestly, I'm already in Texas. I figured that one out long ago. But I have employees that grew up in New York, live in New York, love New York. We have to have a presence in New York. But I will tell you that I make my case almost weekly to all my employees up in New York. We have a 150,000 square foot movie studio in Dallas, Texas, with an office with your name on it. What are you doing? What are you doing?
It's the beautiful weather that keeps everyone here.
No, it is. It's great in New York
Glenn,
right now, isn't it?
Thank you. There is more. Before we wrapped up the interview, I asked this question. You know, it's been a few years since you've been with us here at the Fox News Channel, but I remember when you came, and what a phenom, you know, you became here while you were at Fox, and now you're king of the airwaves. When you think back on your time here, how will you remember it? How do you remember it now? So Glenn Beck had a very successful run here at Fox News, but also became a bit of a lightning rod. He has since gone on to build a new media company, The Blaze, which is incredibly successful and has a great website, by the way. I asked him to reflect on his time here at FNC. You know, it's been a few years since you've been with us here at the Fox News Channel, but I remember when you came, and what a phenom, you know, you became here while you were at Fox, and now you're king of the airwaves. And we put together just a couple of moments. I mean, who could forget you with the Anita Dunn red phone? I feel like this is what people remember. Remember Anita Dunn at the White House, and she was allowed to call you here. We have a clip. I just want to show it so the audience remembers.
We have installed this telephone, the only people that have it, are the people now in Anita Dunn's office in the White House.
You had that, and you had the dead fish out there, and sometimes you were dancing on the set. When you think back, Lederhosen, when you think back on your time here, how will you remember it? How do you remember it now?
I remember it as an awful lot of fun, and that I made an awful lot of mistakes, and I wish I could go back and be more uniting in my language, because I think I played a role, unfortunately, in helping tear the country apart, and it's not who we are. I didn't realize how really fragile the people were. I thought we were kind of a little more in it together. Now I look back and I realize if we could have talked about the uniting principles a little bit more, instead of just the problems, I think I would look back on it a little more fondly. But that's only my role.